Hello and welcome to the daily English news program on Azərbaycan Television with the most important events of the day. I'm your host, Cindy. President İlham Aliyev signed a decree on the changes to the list of service and the state bodies delivering those services from the Unified Coordination Center on the appeals of members of martyrs' families, wounded military personnel, and people with determined disability status as a result of the war. According to the decree, the list of servicemen includes acceptance of applications for the provision of insurance payments on state mandatory personal insurance to heir of a person who has been granted the status of a martyr, acceptance of applications for the provision of insurance payments on state mandatory personal insurance to wounded military personnel and people with determined disability status as a result of the war. These services will be launched from January 1st, 2022. President of the Republic of Azerbaijan, Ilham Aliyev, has received Deputy Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Alexei Overchuk.
The parties hailed the development of bilateral relations, including the economic cooperation between the two countries, noting that trade increased by 7% this year. Underlining the Russian company's great interest in Azerbaijan, the importance of President Ilham Aliyev's support for this cause was emphasized at the meeting. They noted that at the time of their meeting, negotiations are also underway between the Azerbaijani and Russian business circles. The sides widely discussed the issues relating to the activity of Russian companies in the liberated territories of Azerbaijan, increase in trade and mutual investments. They expressed their confidence that the Azerbaijani-Russian relations would continue to develop successfully in various fields. The sides exchanged views on the activities as well as future plans of the Trilateral Commission chaired by the Deputy Prime Ministers of Russia, Azerbaijan and Armenia. President Ilham Aliyev thanked Alexei Overchuk for his efforts in this area. They also noted that the soonest opening of transport communications between Azerbaijan and Armenia would contribute to stability and economic development in the region.
Armenia, which failed to move away from revanchist thinking, did not show a positive reaction to the constructive policy pursued by Azerbaijan in the post-war period. Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan's answers to questions from representatives of various media and NGOs indicate that the country is not ready for agreements on any item of November 10th Act of Surrender.
Nikol Pashinyan's responses on his Facebook page confirmed that official Yerevan has not made a step forward in the peace process. On the contrary, the revanchist illusions remained and the Armenians are striving for a new war in the region. It can be assumed that the latest statements by the Prime Minister on the eve of the trilateral meeting scheduled for November 26 are intended for an internal audience, but the way he interprets most of the points of the November 10th statement in the context of Armenian interests, although these are emotions, testifies to the desire of Armenia to experience the second Iron Fist. To be convinced of this, it is enough to list the Armenian adventures associated with some key moments. First of all, let us pay attention to the words of the victorious Commander-in-Chief, President Ilham Aliyev, on one of the specific issues. On the Azerbaijani-Armenian border would dictate our terms. This is natural and will continue to be so. In connection with this question, sometimes inadequate thoughts are voiced in some foreign circles. That is unnecessary. We stand where we thought it was necessary. If it bothers someone, makes someone nervous, then let them, as they say, go and drink some water. And now, after 3 months, look at Pashinyan's position on this issue. Quote, "We will stand wherever we want." What does this mean from the point of view of international law? That everyone can stand wherever they want? For example, on the territory of Azerbaijan? A serious question should be posed to Pashinyan, who wants to show himself smarter than everyone else. Whose territories were that Armenia destroyed and turned into ruins for 30 years? On the basis of what law, what moral and civil values did the occupying country stay in these territories for 3 decades? Look at the historical injustice and violation of the law. Former President Robert Kocharian boldly confesses to Russian journalist Andrei Karaulov that they seized areas around Karabakh in order to force Azerbaijan to recognize Karabakh's independence. Real laws of the jungle. Second issue on delimitation and demarcation of borders. The war and conflict remained in the past. We are ready to start negotiating with Armenia on the delimitation of borders, provided both sides recognize each other's territorial integrity. Note the position of the Prime Minister of a country that has suffered a bitter defeat in the war. Quote, "The potential document will be as follows. Azerbaijan and Armenia are creating a joint commission, which will immediately begin the process of delimitation and demarcation. This document will not specifically indicate whether the border will be here or elsewhere. Today we know exactly where the border of Soviet Armenia lies. The Prime Minister, disagreeing with those who claim that the Gorus-Kafan road completely passes through the territory of Armenia, declares that if the statement is made, they will not be able to prove that Azerbaijan so-called occupied the territory of Armenia. And this means that Yerevan will publish positive judgments on border issues only in order to present Baku as an aggressor. Third point. Stating that the status of Karabakh is being discussed within the framework of the activities of the Minsk Group co-chairs, the Prime Minister speaks of the inevitability of the international community's influence on Azerbaijan in order to stop Baku. Nagorno-Karabakh. Can a non-existent entity have a status? Of course not. I said, I want to say again, if someone wants to grant Nagorno-Karabakh status, then let them allocate territory in their country, create an entity or a republic there, and recognize its independence. We will recognize too, but not on the territory of Azerbaijan. The thesis put forward by Pashinyan against the background of the statement by the President of Azerbaijan once again confirms that the Armenian ethnos is far from a sense of dignity and morality. Here are the statements of the Armenian Prime Minister. Quote, Azerbaijan and Armenia recognized the territorial integrity of each other within the CIS in 1991. Is the Karabakh problem a territorial problem? From our point of view, this is not a territorial issue. It is a legal issue and has nothing to do with the territorial issue. Why then, back in the Soviet period, did the Armenian authorities decide to annex Karabakh to Armenia? And where then is the logic in Pashinyan's slogan, Karabakh is Armenia and full stop? If the Karabakh issue is a legal issue, then why does this ethnos, which has long lost its own indignity, sold its ego to the West, Russia and to everyone else, who continues to beg for help from the whole world, does not put forward demands under the guise of Armenian law for status in France, the United States, Russia, Iran, Lebanon, and other countries. At the same time, Pashinyan followers have more rights to do this given the number of Armenians living in these countries. This means that Mr. Pashinyan, the premier clown, Kocharyan, Sargsyan, the schizophrenic Ohanyan, and other Yans, whose features reflect the Armenian ugliness, this is far from a legal issue that you want to impose on the world community. Your goal is to build a second Armenian state on the territory of Azerbaijan, and you still believe that you will achieve this with the help of your foreign patrons. In that case, open your ears and hear again. This is our land, our internationally recognized territory. This is not a matter of resources. The main resources are here in Baku. This is a matter of justice, it is a matter of national pride and international law. And be sure that your 100 questions are worthless compared to the values that the President of Azerbaijan speaks about and which you are deprived of as an ethnos.
This year, about 200 Austrian companies have applied to the Austrian Chamber of Economy to set up a business in Azerbaijan and seek advice and cooperation with local companies, stated Deputy Head of the Chamber's Bureau for Azerbaijan, Georgia and Turkey, Eva Whiteholler, at the meeting of Azerbaijani and Austrian entrepreneurs in B2B format held in Baku with the support of the National Confederation of Entrepreneurs. It was stressed that 15 Austrian companies currently operate in our country. These companies are engaged in the import of pharmaceuticals and non-alcoholic beverages. A delegation of Austrian businessmen is expected to visit the liberated territories of Azerbaijan early next year. The families of 7 Azerbaijani servicemen killed during the military operations on the state border as a result of Armenian provocations on November 16th have been provided with social support measures. According to the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection of the Population, the necessary documents of 7 marchers were collected and the monthly pension and benefits of President. A total of 15 payments were made to 14 members of marcher families. New tax benefits are being determined to the war-disabled and families of marchers in the Patriotic War. This was reflected in the amendment proposed to the tax code discussed in the second reading at the meeting of the Milli Mejlis. According to the draft, it is considered to exempt up to 20,000 monads of financial aid given to family members of marchers of Patriotic War and military servicemen and civilians whose disability was determined as a result of military operations from the income tax. At plenary sessions held recently recently, the draft laws included in the state budget and budget envelope for 2022 were adopted after discussions in the second reading. The 37th Ministerial Session of Standing Committee for Economic and Commercial Cooperation of the Organization of Islamic Cooperation kicked off in Istanbul on November 24th. Our country is represented at the meeting by the delegation led by Deputy Minister of Economy Niyazi Safarov. Addressing the ministers in a video message, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan said the pandemic negatively affected the global economy. It was stressed that the unusual trend in consumer prices has also boosted inflation around the world. Azerbaijani Deputy Economy Minister Niyazi Safarov said that Islamic financial instruments are important in reducing the negative impact of COVID-19 on small businesses. It was noted that the interactive meetings held during this session will contribute to the development of small and medium-sized businesses. A handbook entitled Curriculum on Gender Equality in the Civil Service, dedicated to the 15th anniversary of the adoption of the Law on Guarantees of Gender Equality, has been prepared. The presentation of the new publication spoke about the importance of ensuring gender equality. Although the equal representation of women and men at different levels of governance in the country is not fully ensured, it dynamically develops. This opinion was voiced at the presentation of the curriculum on gender equality in the civil service. The publication was prepared by the State Committee for Family, Women and Children Problems, the State Examination Center, Baku State University, and the German Agency for International Cooperation. Chair of the State Committee for Family, Women and Children, Bahar Muradova, spoke about the importance of ensuring gender equality in government agencies and other organizations. Chair of the Board of Directors of the State Examination Center, Meleke Abbaszadeh, Head of the German Agency for International Cooperation, Karin Horan, Director of Baku State University, Elçin Babayev, and others spoke about the importance of the publication. It was noted that the curriculum, developed in accordance with international conventions and national legislation, is important in terms of the formation of good practices in this sphere, better promotion of gender equality in good governance. It was also noted that currently 17.1% of the 3,111 civil servants holding administrative positions are women. But if you look at the statistics of employees in auxiliary positions, this figure is 44%. As for all types of exams, women demonstrate the same level of knowledge and skills as men. That was all for the day. Thank you for being with us and see you next time.